Have you ever been on a losing streak and thought, okay, that's it, I am due for a win? That feeling that the universe somehow owes you one, just to even things out? Well, guess what? Your brain is totally hardwired to believe that. And that belief, it has a name, a wild history, and some pretty shocking consequences. We're going to dig into how this little glitch in our thinking can have life or death stakes. And it all starts with one legendary night at a casino.
To really get this, we've got to travel back in time. We're going to a single legendary night at one of the most glamorous casinos in the world, where this exact mental glitch led to, well, absolute financial chaos. All right, picture this. The date is August 18th, 1913, a moment that would literally go down in the history of psychology. And the place? The legendary Casino di Monte Carlo. You can just imagine it, right? The air thick with cigar smoke, champagne flowing, and that constant rattle of the roulette wheels. So all eyes are on this one particular table, because something kinda strange is happening. The ball drops into a black pocket. Simple enough, a 50-50 shot. But then it happened again, and again, and then again. A small crowd starts to form. We're talking 10 times in a row, 15, 20. The tension in that room must have been just unbelievable as the wheel kept spinning and that little white ball kept finding a home on black. In total, the ball landed on black an absolutely astonishing 26 consecutive times. Now, the odds of this happening are about 1 in 67 million. So yeah, incredibly rare, but here's the thing, totally possible. But here's what's truly fascinating, the human reaction. The longer the streak of black went on, the more certain, the more convinced the gamblers became that red had to be next. They felt the universe needed to balance the scales, so they doubled down, betting bigger and bigger, and collectively lost a fortune. That crazy night gave a name to this powerful and, let's be honest, super expensive error in our thinking. It became known as the Monte Carlo Fallacy, but today we just call it the gambler's fallacy. So what is it exactly? The gambler's fallacy is this mistaken belief that past events in a series of independent trials, like a coin flip or a roulette spin, can somehow influence future outcomes. It's that gut feeling that a different result is due. And this slide just nails that internal conflict. Our intuition screams that a streak has to end, that the world is supposed to be balanced. But the cold, hard reality of statistics is that for independent events, the past just doesn't matter. The roulette wheel, the coin, the dice, they don't have a memory. The odds reset to 50-50 every single time. So why are our brains so easily fooled by this? I mean, it's not a sign of being unintelligent. In fact, it's a byproduct of one of our brain's greatest superpowers. Its relentless, non-stop drive to find patterns in everything. This insight comes from the groundbreaking work of two legendary psychologists, Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman. What they showed is that our gut feelings about probability and randomness are often fundamentally and very predictably wrong. They pinpointed this mental shortcut called the representativeness heuristic. Okay, it's a bit of a mouthful, but here's all it means. Your brain has a little mental picture of what random is supposed to look like. A nice mix, like heads, tails, heads, tails. A long streak of 6 heads in a row just doesn't seem representative of randomness. So your brain concludes the sequence is broken and that a tails has to be coming soon to fix it. They called this the belief in the law of small numbers. We expect even tiny samples to look like the long-term average. Okay, so you might be thinking, this is just a weird quirk for gamblers, right? Nope. This bias seeps into some of the most serious decisions imaginable, far, far away from the casino floor. Get this. A groundbreaking study looked at thousands of decisions made by U.S. asylum judges. It found that with everything else being equal, a judge was 3.3 percentage points more likely to reject an asylum application if they had just approved the previous one. It's like their brain felt a rejection was due. And it does not stop there. This same pattern has been found in loan officers who are less likely to approve a loan after approving several in a row. It affects MLB umpires calling balls and strikes. It even shows up in parents who, after having 3 boys, just feel like they're due for a girl. This fallacy is absolutely everywhere. Now, what's really wild is that our brains can be wrong in the exact opposite way, too. The flip side of the gambler's fallacy is what's called the hot hand fallacy. This is the belief that a basketball player who's made a few shots in a row is on fire and actually more likely to make the next one.
One says the streak must end. The other says it's destined to continue.
So the key point is that both of these errors, even though they seem like total opposites, they spring from the exact same root cause. Our brains are allergic to the idea of pure, meaningless randomness. We have to impose a narrative, we see streaks, we create patterns, whether it's a need for balance or a belief in momentum. The good news in all this is that once you understand the trap, you can learn to spot it in your own thinking. You can actually build a mental defense against it.
So how do you do it? How do you fight a bias that's literally built into the hardware of your brain, a bias that even trained professionals fall for? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, but it does take some deliberate practice. You have to constantly, and I mean constantly, remind yourself of this one core principle. These dice, this coin, this roulette wheel, they cannot remember what happened before. Every single event is a fresh start, completely independent of whatever came before it.
Here's a practical little tool you can use, a 4-step reality check. Step 1, just notice when you're thinking about a streak. Step 2, mentally put a firewall around the next event. Separate it from everything that came before. Step 3, say it, either out loud or just to yourself, this event is independent. And finally, step 4, force your brain to ask, what are the odds of this one event alone, right now? That's what breaks the illusion.
Ultimately, it all comes down to this one simple question. The gambler's fallacy is born from our deep, deep desire for a world that's fair, that's balanced, and that makes sense like a story. But randomness doesn't keep score. It just is. And recognizing that difference is the first step toward making much clearer, much more rational decisions.